Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the trips and holidays that uncover them. My guest today is the wonderful, dapper, amazing Hollywood legendary director, Paul Feig.
Oh, I'm not worthy. Thank you, Tanya.
Known for producing critically acclaimed films such as Bridesmaids, which made me cry with laughter, and I watched again last night because I knew I was seeing you. Spy and A Simple Favor. He has sauntered onto film sets all over the world, so I can absolutely say without doubt that his travel secrets are going to be wonderful. He's the creator of Artingstall gin.
Artingstall's.
Artingstall's gin, which they have at Duke's Hotel, which is where we're filming today. Yes. And I'm sure we will hear many stories about that. You're also the writer of an amazing book, The Ultimate Guide to Grown-Up Fun, about cocktails.
Yes.
And I am now going to wind my way through that book, making a cocktail a day.
Excellent.
You've just hot-footed off the set of A Simple Favor 2. Mm-hmm. We've just caught you between filming in Rome and on your way back to LA for the summer.
Yes, correct.
So welcome, lovely Paul. I am so delighted to have you as my guest today.
It's a thrill, absolute honor.
So before we get into our travel secrets, perhaps you could tell me a bit about yourself and how travel has impacted the man that you have become today.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, right outside in the suburbs, and it was a very small life living there because my father liked to travel, but he could only have 1 week off per year because he owned a store that sold army surplus and sporting goods. But he'd like to take his 1 week vacation, but we would always go somewhere warm because Michigan was usually kind of cold. So we almost always went to the Caribbean. And it was there that I kind of learned to love travel. Just because, again, whatever small town you grow up in, and I grew up in a place called Mount Clemens, Michigan, which was a big small town, but still a small town. And you feel, especially back then, this was pre-internet, obviously, and all that, the world is very small, that your world is just what's around you. And you tend to get a little bit afraid of the outside because it seems big and different, and you don't know what it is, and you hear like everybody speaks a different language. So your world becomes very small. And so I was always grateful that my father would take me somewhere in the Caribbean. Just seems so like another world, another planet. And but it really got my desire. Yeah, my desire to travel became a big thing.
How amazing.
Yeah.
So let's go into your travel secrets. What is the number one destination that you think everyone should go to once in their lifetime?
Well, I mean, I'm very biased. Well, here a little preamble on this is, even though I love to travel, I'm also very much a creature of habit. It's something my mother always had, which is like, well, you did something twice, and it's a tradition. We have to do it all the time. And I'm kind of that way because I work really hard, as we all do, and you get that time off, and you're like, should we go somewhere we don't know? And you kind of get into this thing of like, I just want to go where I know.
And where they know me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, know me and all that.
Yeah.
So 30, or I mean, maybe a little less than 30 years ago, there was a website called Luxury Links. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No.
Yeah, it was this big thing, and it was basically all these luxury hotels that were having trouble getting people coming in would put these amazing deals online. And my wife discovered it, and you had to have a membership to do it. And so she just started booking us at these amazing places for I mean, less than half of what you would normally get charged. And I had no money back then. I was a struggling actor at the time. And one of the places we ended up going to was Capri. And we went to the Caeser Augustus Hotel. And I'd never seen anything like Capri.
Yeah, so beautiful.
It's just gorgeous. So we immediately fell in love with it. And it just became, we haven't had a year since then that we have not gone to Capri. Yeah, but the funny thing is that so many people I tell Capri's my favorite place, and they go, "Oh, we went there, we didn't like it," and you go like, "Well, how did you go there? And they go, oh, we went in for the day. It's like, okay, it's the worst way to do
It
Capri.
is. Everyone goes at the same time on the same boats, and it's crowded.
Well, they take the boat that
Yeah.
disgorges all these
exactly.
tourists, and they walk around, and and so the way to do Capri is you stay there for a week, stay in a nice hotel. I mean, we like, from the Quisisana to the JK place to, there's so many great places there. And you just kind of hide out in the hotel all day while the tourists are walking around. And then about 5, it starts to thin out. The ferries pull out. And then it becomes this magical, like Italian Riviera kind of place where everybody's, stepping it up, and they're
dressing up.
nice and all that. And it's just so magical. And then having gone there for so many years now, we know so many people there. But I'm a big fan of that. I mean, I always want to keep exploring new places, but there's just something about going a place that you love and people kind of know you.
Do you know, I am absolutely the same. I travel all over the world for my business, obviously.
Yeah.
My husband and I go to the same hotel every summer in Saint-Paul-de-Vence called the Colombe.
Oh,
it's a very
fantastic.
small hotel, I'm sure you know.
Yep.
We have the same table, we have the same room,
Yeah.
and the same people go there. And it's almost like that Cheers saying, you want to go where everybody knows your name.
Totally. I funny. I just ran into my friend Nick Fowkes, and he and his family are obsessed with the Marbella Club.
Yes.
And they've been going there for years. And we finally went there. My wife Lori and I went there because we went to Bookinger,
Yep.
which is that health spa,
Absolutely.
for a week. It was after I'd finished my last movie called Jackpot that comes out in August. And I just felt like I needed a detox. And so went and had this week of detox there. And then we went and stayed at the Marbella Club. And it was fantastic. And so I'm really obsessed with what people like yourself go, like, this is the place we go all the time.
And Nick
Those are
wrote
where
the
we go.
book on the Marbella
He
Club,
did.
didn't he?
It's a brilliant book.
And that's one of my clients, the Marbella Club,
Oh,
and
my
so is
gosh.
Booking over Wilhelmi.
Yeah.
They're both clients of mine.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yes, and I go every year to book here. I don't go to Marbella because I need the Teutonicness of the Lake Constance one.
Yes.
So I go after Christmas when I've totally overindulged.
Yeah.
And I have my 2 weeks detox. And, people say, oh, gosh, how can you do that? But honestly, it's the best thing.
No. Well, you go to Bookinger, you detox, and then you go to the Marbella Club.
And you retox.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And it's very glamorous.
Oh, it's so
very,
wonderful.
very glamorous.
Really wonderful.
Yeah, really great. So let's go on to travel secret number 2.
Mhm.
What's the most unexpected travel experience that you have ever had?
Well, it was about 5 years ago, I would say, right pre-pandemic. It was my friend Eric's 50th birthday. And so they had booked through this high-end travel company a trip to Peru, which I want to go to a lot of places. Obviously, Peru was never quite on that list for no other reason than I thought,
I'm never going to get there.
yeah, why would I
Yeah.
ever go to Peru? And we had this amazing trip because they booked us onto the Andaluvian Express.
Amazing.
Yeah. And just going all through Peru on this train and up to the highest altitude possible, and just stopping every day in different places. The train was just gorgeous. I mean, it's very, Orient Express-esque.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And it was just really quite a good time, an unexpected time. But and this brings me to a point. Something I wanted to talk to you about. I don't want to hijack the podcast, but like we knew we were going on a luxury train, but we knew there was no dress code like on the Orient Express. There's black tie and all that.
Yeah.
But it was like, I'm going to go on this nice train. So we all decided we're going to bring black tie and we're going to go formal and we're just going to do it for dinner every night. And we did. And it was wonderful. But, the rest of the train was people, dressed of all modes of dress. And I wrote an article 5 years ago for Esquire called Responsible Tourism. And this is something I live by. And this will be very divisive. People may hate me when I say this. But my problem is when I travel and you go to places like Capri and all these beautiful places, and I always dress up. I dress nicely.
Yes.
And, I'm not, and this
You
isn't like a
very,
money.
very wonderful
Well,
dresser.
thank you. But it's not even like a money thing. It's not like I have to wear all the expensive clothes. Like you can buy, a nice jacket anywhere or a nice outfit. And I'm dressed nicely. And most tourists, just have that thing where you just dressed for absolute comfort I remember when I was in high school, I had a French teacher, and he's like, "Oh, when you go to Paris, or to France, you have to wear very comfortable shoes and everything because it's cobblestones." And it was like, well, that just sounds like you're just going to dress like, terribly.
Terrible.
And
you go to Paris, you need to dress nicely.
Well, that's exactly it. And I'm a filmmaker, and so, we have wardrobe for our actors and all that, but at the same time, we have extras, our background artists. And we're always working really hard to make sure they all look really good. And I say, when you travel, you are the star of your vacation, but you are a background artist of everybody else's vacation and their pictures. So if I'm in the background, my wife and I are in the background of somebody's pictures.
You want to look nice.
We look nice. But if they're in the background of my pictures,
they don't look nice.
They're wearing Tevas and they got the ski poles and the shorts and the baseball caps. And it's a very snobby thing to say, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, vacation it's not, look, it's about relaxing and comfort. I get that. I totally get that. But at the same time, it's also not just becoming a blight on whatever place you're going to. And so I don't know how you feel about this, but it really becomes something I get obsessed with.
I actually totally agree with you. And when I go to my hotel in the south of France, I take 2 huge suitcases.
Yeah.
We go for 2.5 weeks. I dress differently for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I dress up every day. Yeah. And it's become a funny thing that all the other guests want to see what I'm wearing. So I now have to. But my husband's like, do you really have to do that?
That's my wife is the same way.
And the different shoes and all of those sort of things. I really do believe that. But also not just travel. I get very upset when I go to the theatre, which is my love. I love going to the theatre and the opera.
I know what you're going to say.
And people are in shorts.
Yes.
And I think, you've spent £250 on a ticket. Why are you coming looking like this?
Right. And you're affecting our experience.
Exactly.
Because there's certain places that just, and again, people can really poo-poo this because it's like, well, we don't have money or blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not about money. No. You can go to a thrift store and get a nice outfit. It's not that. It's just the idea of, I have a style. I want to bring my style to this place that I appreciate. To me, it's about appreciating the place.
I agree. And I lived in Paris for 3.5 years. So I sort of learnt to dress a bit like the French, classically and everything. I'm actually all in black today because I've been to a funeral, but normally I wear a lot of colour, but block colour. And people say it's really nice because not many people do that. So, and it's Zara. It's not even designer clothes.
Well,
it's
exactly
just something that
H&M, any of these places, they have beautiful things. I have a friend, my friend Eric, whose birthday we went to Peru for. I spend a lot of money on clothes, and he always shows up in some outfit. I'm like, that's gorgeous. Where's that from? Zara.
Yeah.
It cost, 10 quid or whatever. It's like, okay, so there's no excuse not to do it. You just have to say, I'm going to do it.
And especially if you're on a lovely train, like you were on your way to Peru, that is the time to dress up. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this would bring me to what I guess I would now consider travel tip number 3, which is something I'm really obsessed with, which is, however weird this sounds, because people are so individualistic and all that, and I'm the same way, and contrarian and all that, but I say, try to fit into the place that you are at. I don't say this because you don't want to stand out and be an individual, but just kind of fit in, like again, just walking around, just being so obviously a tourist that is abhorrent to me. I've just spent, I've been living in Rome for the last 5.5 months shooting Simple Favor 2, a sequel to a movie I made. And, and I was staying at the Hotel Eden, or Aiden, as they call it there. If you get in a taxi, you say Eden, they go, what? You go, Aiden. Aiden. But what happens is all the tourist buses all disgorge their people right across the street from there. And so every time I'm going down into town, it's a million tourists following somebody with an umbrella in the air or a flag or whatever. And it's fine. I mean, it's great. That's a great way to travel. But it's always just like, oh, God, the tourists all just look so
similar.
So terrible.
And also, they don't get under the skin of that destination either.
No. And then what you'll see is mixed in there'll be a few people who have kind of stepped it up, and you're like, oh, God bless you. I think I want to take those people and go, come on, come with me. Let's go. I know better places than where they're going to take you.
And so that is a travel secret. Your best travel tip is blend in and be more like a local.
Yeah, and not like you're trying to hide and not draw attention to yourself, but at the same time, here, this always drives. We go to Venice a lot. It's another one of my favorite places. And when you're walking kind of towards the Accademia Bridge, there's this church where they always do Vivaldi concerts and stuff. And they always have these people trying to get you to, sign petitions out front. And they pride themselves on going, "You're American, aren't you?" And like calling out who you are.
Really?
And it makes me crazy.
So you think, please don't make them know that I'm an American.
Well, that's the thing. So then I said, drive one way. They're like, "Oh, you're British," and I said, "Okay, well, I fooled them at least from the one thing." And I'm very proudly American.
Yes.
I just don't like to be like called out,
categorized,
physically.
Absolutely. So let's go on to the next travel secret, which is, what is your most overrated travel experience?
I really try to enjoy everything and see it for what it is, and so it's hard to kind of say what that would be. I don't have any specifics on it. I think it's just when you go to a hotel that you pay a lot of money for and it's not what you thought it was going to be. And I'm really struggling to kind of come up with an example of that. But we've had a few times just where you're like, "Oh God, we paid a lot of money for this and we're not getting either the experience or the service, or they're just not kind of paying you the due that they should." But it's something I find very interesting about travel, which is the places we all love to go have a lot of locals who hate tourists, and so I think, again, that's why I'm always about this whole thing, kind of like try to blend in a bit, try to figure out what the culture is, what their rules are, and don't come in with where you're from's rules and then get mad that they don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are shooting, for example, in Rome for 5 months, do you tend to go to the local restaurants and ask the locals where they go and where they have their cappuccino in the morning or whatever?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of research in that. I always find out who's worked there before. Because the great thing about making movies is, when you go somewhere, you're there for a long time.
Yeah.
And so you really settle in and you find out, and you do this research, or you find from other people who've been there or locals what the lists are. My first thing I always do is like, who worked there? Send me your list.
Yeah.
And then I'll go off of that list and just hit those places, and some are underwhelming, some are overwhelming. And then by those places, then it starts to branch out, and you find out from either the people there or from other people who are around, like, "Oh, this place is great." And it's that fun experimentation. But again, back to my mom's thing about it's a tradition. Once I'm there for about a month, I tend to lock in on the places I like. And it's not good. It's not a good way to travel or to be a place a long time. I'm very much like end up going to the same 4 places all the time.
Do you have your own lists? So do other directors and actors say to you, right, you were shooting, for example, in Rome, where did you go?
Yeah, no, you build your list, because I gather those lists and I put them into a master list. And then as I find the new places, I put them on my list, and it just expands and expands. And there's nothing worse than telling somebody about something you think is great, and then they're like, "Yeah, we went, it was okay."
But I think it's a really lovely thing, and also takes us nicely into the next travel secret, which is food and drink is so important to all of us.
It's really what
especially when we're talking about your gym, which I hope you're going to talk about now. But you should be doing a book next on where you go around the world and what you've experienced. That would be amazing.
I would love it. I mean, yes, food and drink that's the main part of travel.
It is.
The place is the setting for where you're enjoying these things. But I love being surprised by things you wouldn't expect would be great. And I always kind of refer to my favorite surprise ever was when we were in Venice, when we stayed there a lot, when we finally got to stay at the Gritti Palace.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and go to the bar, which is that great old,
It's exquisite.
It's just so nice. But for some reason, I saw there's Irish coffee on the menu. I was like, well, that's crazy.
That's unusual.
Yeah, like why would I get Irish coffee there? But I was like, well, let's just try it. It's the greatest thing I've ever had there, because what they do is they just do a very simple, basically, coffee and whiskey, but then they put this frozen panna on top. This almost like ice cream, but it's not. It's like whipped, I guess it's like a whipped ice cream or whatever. And it sits there and it's really cold. And apparently, I've just found out you're not allowed in a lot of countries to put cold on top of hot, because they say that it creates bacteria. So who knows? It hasn't killed me yet.
And it hasn't killed the Italians either.
Exactly. They seem to be doing
the
okay.
Gritti. They're doing very, very well. But that's a great tip, because even if you're not staying at the Gritti, you could go and have an Irish coffee, which is a very unusual thing to think. But if it's delicious, why not?
It's so wonderful because it's cold on top, hot on the bottom. And the first sip is just this cold, frozen panna. And then you eventually get to the coffee, and it slowly starts to come together. Oh, and I can't have caffeine, so they'll make me a decaf one. Decaf
Irish coffee.
Decaf Irish coffee. Nothing less adventurous than that.
So tell us about your gin. How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a gin fanatic. I've always loved adult. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an adult, and so to me, adult life was represented by martinis, because you watch shows like Bewitched and these things, and they would make
James
martinis.
Bond.
Exactly. I mean, come on, shaken not stirred. Although I am more stirred than shaken, but that's between he and I. No, and I first was like everybody in the world, I guess. When you're a kid, you sneak into somebody's parents' basement or bar, and first thing is you have the gin, and you're like, oh, it tastes terrible because it smells like cleanser and all that stuff. So I always thought I didn't like gin. And so I would have vodka martinis in my 20s, and then read a book about martinis, and they were like, a real martini is gin, not vodka. So I was like, well, I have to force myself to learn like gin, and quickly realized how great it was when I found ones that I liked, because there's a million different gins in the world, because it's all about basically how they flavor the ethanol. And so would just travel around and learn, and try everything and go like, oh, I never found the one that I think is what I would love the most. If I made my own gin, I think I could make what I would consider to be the perfect gin. And so, about 7 years ago now, partnered up with this company called Minhas Distilleries, and they were looking to do kind of a high-end premium spirit, and came in, and I developed the whole recipe with them, and we designed the bottle, and it's
named after your mother's
my mom's
name?
maiden name, Artingstall. And it's a proper London dry, but it comes in a beautiful decanter bottle, and
is absolutely delicious.
Yes, it's my pride and joy. More than my movies, I'm most proud of my gin.
Well, we will have to sample it later at Duke's. You might have to mix me a martini.
I think we're in the right place.
I think we are indeed. So, travel secret number 6. What is a memory for you of a holiday or trip that's still poignant for you now?
Well, I think I have to go back to this Peru trip that we took, and I think it's just because it was so unexpected. Because I'm adventurous, but at the same time, I'm also very cautious. And there's places I want to go in the world, but there's a part of me is like, ooh, I'm like nervous. I try to fight that side of myself, and I think I got instilled in me from my mother, who was a little bit of a fraidy cat. I forced myself over the years to go like, let's just do it. Let's just get in there. But again, Peru's nothing I would ever thought to go to, because I just didn't know how to get into it.
Did you have altitude sickness?
No. Well, what happened was everybody prepared me so much for that, but I don't like medication generally. And so I knew you get these pills, but then I did a lot of reading, and it was all about this. And it's like, it's illegal anywhere there. But also what they do there is the coca leaves. Oh. But I'm not a drug person at all. I mean, I like my alcohol. I'm not a drug person at all. But I also read that's how they get through it. They chew these coca leaves and all that. I didn't want to do that. And funny, when you get to the airport in Peru, they have these giant pots of coca leaves, and you're just supposed to take one and chew it, but they're dry, so it's literally like chewing on a dry like
a panda with a bamboo stick or something.
Yeah, and it's like this gravel in your mouth. But what I found at the airport was they had coca tea leaves. And so you can make coca tea. And so that's what I just started to do. And I never had any problem with it whatsoever. And it doesn't make you high or anything. It's just, you just kind of get used to the taste. And you got so addicted to it that by the time you left, you're like, can I take some home? Some? Yeah. And you're like, don't take it home.
No, you will not into America.
Arrested immediately.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Did you go to Machu Picchu?
Yeah. I went up there. And that was, it's gorgeous.
It's a once in a lifetime thing, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, the getting up there is quite a
hike.
Interesting. Well, we took the bus where you're like, are we going to go off the side of the mountain?
And there's an Orient Express hotel at the top.
Oh, really?
That you can stay at as well.
Gosh,
yes.
I didn't do
and
that.
Actually, talking on trains and the Orient Express, have you ever done the Orient Express to Venice?
No, we've never done it, but this Christmas with our friends who took us to Peru, we're doing the Asian Orient Express.
Oh, are you? How
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, which I'm very excited about.
And I hope you're going to dress up every night.
Oh, of course. They make you, so thank God for that.
But the London to Venice no longer exists, so you have to go from Paris.
Yeah.
And I booked it 10 years ago for my husband and my anniversary, and I gave it to him. I was so excited. He said, "Oh, no, no, no. I don't want to do a train. I want to go straight to the Cipriani and stay there because I don't want to share a loo, because you used to have to share the loo on the corridor."
That's why we have not gone on it.
But they've changed that now.
Yeah.
So now they have the totally refurbished train where you actually have beds together, so you're not on top of each other, so you're
Okay.
side by side, and you have your own
ensuite.
bathroom.
Oh, okay.
So I'm thinking now it's our 25th anniversary coming up. I think that's going to be my next present to him.
You have to do it because our friends booked on the Asian Orient Express the 2 suites that are en suite. So
Yeah.
because I'm the same, sharing a bathroom is.
So when are you doing
I
that?
Draw the line. Christmas.
Christmas,
This
how
Christmas.
exciting.
I
So that's your
know.
next trip.
Yes.
And next film?
Well, I mean, we just finished the one in Rome,
Yeah.
so I'm going to be doing post-production and editing on that all this year, and then the next, I have a couple of movies I'm debating which I'm going to do next.
And
I'm
will
not
they
sure.
be in Europe, or you're not sure
I
yet?
think these ones are going to be more American-based. Yeah, I mean, look, it was a thrill shooting in Rome on Simple Favor 2, and actually the movie I've been working in the UK quite a bit. I made a movie called Last Christmas several
Which
years
was
ago.
wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely loved it.
Oh,
It
thank
was so
you.
lovely.
And that was fun because I love London so much, and it was my chance to show off all of London that I love. So that was fun. And then I did a movie called School for Good and Evil, and we shot that in Belfast, and that was really great. And then the movie that's coming out in August called Jackpot with John Cena and Awkwafina, we actually shot in Atlanta, but we ended up post-production posting it here in London.
So you do spend lots of time in London.
Yeah,
so-
you know, we have a place here, and my wife loves London. She's kind of over Los Angeles, so she stays here, and I go back and forth.
So the last travel secret, I asked you to bring a photograph that summed up travel to you and your life.
Yes.
Can you show us the photograph and then tell us about that photograph?
Yeah, I can. Again, this comes from the infamous Peruvian trip that we took, and I'll preface this by saying this to me kind of sums up what travel is. Again, like I said, how kind of the locals put up with the tourists, but they kind of need the tourists. But then so this was up at this very high altitude in Peru, and this the locals trotted out these 2 kids in a llama to take our pictures with, and we were so thrilled. But if you look at these kids, they could not be less happy to be with us. I mean, look at this. Where'd he go?
Magnificent photograph.
I know, but that's.
Oh, look at the face.
That to me sums up the logo
face.
of like, okay, we're gonna tolerate you, but we're all.
That's what we really
look at me like,
think.
hey, look, we're so happy.
We're having a great time.
The llama seems to be having a fairly good time.
That
but,
is a wonderful photograph. Thank you so much. That is just brilliant. Paul, it has been a joy and a delight to go around the world with you, hear your travel secrets, and I really hope that I can send you to lots of wonderful hotels. So you, Laurie, and I will get together, and I know you like going back to the same places like I do, but there'll be some that you haven't been that you'll absolutely adore.
I trust you so much. I will go anywhere you tell me to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Tanya.